I'm Natalie Rains, and today we're going to be looking at the hymn, How Great Thou Art. I probably get asked for individual hymn tutorials on this hymn more than any other. So we're going to look at all 4 verses. A couple weeks ago, someone messaged me about asking how to play a certain hymn, and they said, I know you talk a lot about playing through the text. And I thought, yes, I'm so glad. I do not mind being known for that. Playing through the text is a great skill for a hymn player, congregational pianist to learn, because not only does it help you think more about the words while you're playing, but it can also aid your congregation in thinking more worshipfully as well. So that's going to be our process as we go through How Great Thou Art. So let's jump in. The first thing I do when I'm sitting down to play congregationally is I do open the hymnal. Even if it's a song that I already know all 4 verses to, I want to look at the words and make sure that I'm playing through the text, thinking about how I can musically reflect what the words say. So, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I'm thinking he's sitting there almost in amazement, hardly able to speak at how amazing God's creation is, so I don't want to be playing too much at the beginning. Something simple like that can just break up the fact that you've got 2.5 beats of holding before the next phrase. I see the stars, I think there's a lot of them, so I want to do tiny, short notes up top. I hear the rolling thunder, so do something in your bass that takes you down. Downward arpeggio like that because thy power throughout the universe displayed. You want it to sound very full, like we see his glory all throughout, so use a lot of the keyboard. I also think that his power originates in heaven and then extends to earth as well, so that's why I used a downward arpeggio. Simple in the top, primarily focused on the melody, not much else, a couple harmony notes thrown in with that chord, and letting my left hand have a rolling pattern because this is him singing. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. So I want it to sound like someone singing with an accompaniment in the bass. A lot of times I would go to my C minor there instead of my F because your 2 minor leads very easily to your 5. That's kind of what I did at the beginning, thy worlds thy hands have made, before the phrase I see the stars. I just did it higher. So it's just 2 notes at a time, playing around with the intervals that work with that chord. When through the woods and forest glades I wonder is the second verse, and a lot of churches leave the second verse out. So if yours does, it's fine. Sometimes we sing it, sometimes we don't. So I'm thinking about somebody just walking through. So once again, keep it simple. You've got to think about the fact that you have 4 verses and you want the last verse to be the biggest. So don't be too big on the first 2 and then have nowhere to go. So you want to build to that climax when Christ shall come. So that for? Hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, so move up to the treble and do something simple. I did that because the next phrase says, when I look down from lofty mountain grandeur, so I want to try to reflect that in what I'm playing. brook, feel the gentle breeze, keep it very light and very gentle. Once again, the chorus, I'd play similarly to the first chorus. That's an underused but very effective thing, is to let both hands do octaves. Let them separate right here because you've got a downbeat in your left hand. That's an easy thing to do, kind of like let your right hand have a duet, but the lower, your thumb, is going to do something a little different. Easy arpeggio. Principle there that I did earlier, where I used my octaves, and now I'm going to separate back for my downbeat. My hymnal has that written as distinct eighth notes. Most places I hear this sung would have that elongated a little bit. So now this next verse, and when I think that God, his son not sparing, I imagine that that is very, very reflective. And so I don't want to be doing a whole lot. I'm probably going to have both hands up higher. Kind of like what I did on the verse before, where I had two notes playing, but the bottom note did something slightly different within the chord. Excited. I scarce can take it in. So don't be afraid to do a little bit more on that. Just double that note. I'm going to get a lot softer, because when I realize how much he did for me on the cross, sometimes that's a feeling of excitement and overwhelmed with joy that he took our sin debt. And then other times, and what I think he was probably feeling when he wrote that third verse about, wow, it's so overwhelming, he hardly had words, he could scarce take it in, like he said in the verse. So I want that chorus to be a little more set back. We're also building to the fourth verse, so I don't want to go too far in the third chorus to where I have nowhere to go for the fourth chorus. Little sixth. Church, I'll generally go to the key of C for the last verse, or B. B is a little bit of a tricky key to play in if you're not used to it, so practice the B scale a lot before you play a congregational in B. Other times I'll stay in the same key. The point is that you make a transition, and if you don't do key changes on the fourth verse, that's fine. That's something to talk to your song leader about, and ask if that's a possibility where you can kind of feel that there's going to be a key change there, and y'all can rehearse that together before then. But okay, let's just stay in the key of B flat for the sake of the tutorial. That I'm going to do while I'm holding out that quarter note, or actually a dotted quarter, for a beat and a half. When Christ shall come, I hold it out for a beat and a half. I need to do something up top. This is the trumpet call. He is coming to get us. When Christ shall come, with shout. So I want there to have been a shout coming right before that. So that's why we're going to do 4 notes, all just octaves. So my hymnal, so I just do it as an arpeggio. And that. It's kind of like what I did on the first verse. I'm just taking it all the way down. What joy shall suddenly softer on that because the words are, then I shall bow in humble adoration. So this is not the same as at the beginning of the verse where it's really, really big. There's a sudden shift. We just were taken to heaven. What joy. Oh, wow. We're going to bow in humble adoration. Pretty much how I would play it for congregational. I'm allowing there to be little motifs, like a tiny theme that's reflected several times throughout the hymn. So that's why at the very end, instead of just ending on the B flat chord, I'm gonna have that little trumpet call that I did back at the beginning of the fourth verse. So that is a very quick explanation of how to play How Great Thou Art.